And didn't Bill Gates, child genius, grow up to be the perfect capitalist? I mean, didn't he? I mean, look at what he did and look at what he's become. And along the way, he did it the American way. He was making the capitalist money. I, believe me, I've got a lot of problems with the moral life of Bill Gates. Why does he think he's entitled? We'll have to look that up here. Here's what I wrote down. To compare Bill Gates to me, as the dark side tried this afternoon, caused me to chuckle and say, I don't care. Broken calcaneal bone in 3 places in my heel, massive head trauma last month, very painful, still recovering, gangrene right before COVID. I don't care if I had to suffer physical pain. I am the most highest Paco, like King David. Like King David, whom he loved like you and me, because we have been adopted and confirmed through our passion for him. We suffer for his reputation's sake. We don't even know our real name yet, according to Revelation chapter 2. We'll find out in heaven very intimately by Jesus Christ. No man knows Jesus Christ's real name. God's name, Patron, the Father, is his reputation. His rumor should be feared. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. And what fair and honest way to debate never is, let's settle this with the fisticuffs. Because you might win when you're young, but when you get older, like me, like right now, so I'm thinking like, well, I could probably, no, you don't want to fight. Check this out. I'm going to show you some of the pictures I got saved today. Just reminded me, I'm remembering where I left off with the Stones and what changed the world. I talked about what I knew yesterday and from the man who brought you the mud flood. And the people that don't like my cigarette smoking, my mushroom taking, and my convinced mind that marijuana and coffee and tea and tobacco are these sacred herbs that everybody's always used until now. Now they've got a new plan going on. The horns of Moses, yeah, it's all in the Bible. I got to do this right. Should I show this? I might be looking at some stuff later. I know I will with the whole dealio. Okay. The pictures, that's right. I was going to show the pictures. So, should I start here with this is a pin through the fornix. No, that's not what I wanted to do. These are the pictures I took today. I don't know how it ended up on that one. Is that the last one I took? No, this should be the last one I took. The Mothers Club at your local school, private school, the proceeds from the Lakeside School's rummage sale, well, they used it to buy a teletype Model 33, of course, ASR terminal, and a block of computer time. That's what moms with their, Why buy volleyballs for the volleyball team or new uniforms for the cheerleaders like every other mother's club? Let's buy a teletype computer and some computer time. So Bill Gates can take an interest in it and crack the code. They used this young man. That's Paul Allen sitting next to him. You could call Paul Allen he's a schoolmate. It's just that Bill was advanced. Look at your little baggy. You already had baggy eyes because they worked this young man like a slave. I tell you. How did I get here? I was on the what? So there's Bill Gates today. He's divorced now, but he wants payback. I mean, he did the hard work of cracking the code. His mom put him in that school. That school, Lakeside, cost as much as it would cost to send you to Harvard. We'll get into Harvard later. He got into Harvard later. He is not a dumb individual when it comes to that type of thing. What's up with these movie stars? They surround them with, I don't know. You've heard the rumors about Natalie, right? Bono Vox, good voice. They picked him out. I was looking at this picture. What do you see? Take a look. And I'm going to say, look at their feet. Look at their feet. What do you see in their feet? Come on. That's weird. Bono, you're one of the elite. You've been processed into the elite, and you're wearing 3-inch heels, so you could be the tallest one there. Stand there, and I just thought it was weird. So that's Bill Gates. That's his friends. That's him young. The Mothers Club at the school used the proceeds to buy the teletype. He wrote his first computer program on this machine and implementation of tic-tac-toe that allowed the users to play games. He was fascinated by the machine. Afterwards, the Mothers Club donation was exhausted. Gates sought time with the mini computers, one of them a PDP-10 belonging to CCC, which banned them, but they caught them exploiting bugs to get free time. He went to work for them. Don't worry, it worked out good for them. The Lord put me back in the brain, back on the stones. Like, you got distracted for a while. I'm back in school. I've done my passion. I've celebrated it all the way through and never, you know, hey, you go through a gangrene and be one of these guys that's like, I don't like pain pills. That's when you're going to prove it, right? I proved it. I don't like pain pills. I don't like gangrene. I knew I would. I prayed. Oh, you things that are in my body that heal me. Time to step it up because I'm very distracted by this pain. Very distracted by this pain. The, upside of the situation, though, is that I had been involved in an accident where I got whiplash and needed a spinal fusion repair. They don't do it for 2 years. So I had already been prepared by the Lord to know what every minute, day and night, is like to be in nerve pain. And so once you know you can do that and not take the pain pills and that it's going to, it's better because if it's not like I didn't try the pain pills a couple times. Do you really want to still be in pain because it's nerve pain? It's not like if I had a real bad contusion or something, or I hit my thumb with a hammer, I wouldn't take a Vicodin or something that numbs the pain. But I am not one of these push the button monkeys. It's not worth it to me to get constipated. it's just not worth it. So I'm not going to take their stupid drugs because it kills the endings that make you realize it's time to go poop and stuff. It's not going to help your nerve pain in your neck. Back some more pictures. So as we'll see what we come up with here. So here, did you know that almonds are always talked about in the Bible as like, embellishments that look like an almond and well, they didn't have the amygdala, so they just put in the alma because the amygdala means almond. It This is where your smell, emotions, and memory, and it all relates into. Some of you remember the ampufugal lymphocanosis and how we were into it. That there was a time when I could describe every portion of the Kabbalah of what they teach, and let me look you in the eye when I tell you that one too. But what's the difference? I'm not promoting the Kabbalah, except the Kabbalah is right about the Bible pictures a lot of things in the body. But the Jewish people that do the Jewish Kabbalah, they do not believe that Jesus Christ walked on the earth, lived and died, and by his blood we're made holy. There's power in his blood, that he was real. They think it's all a myth, but it is not. The information about the stones crying out and how they're reserved in judgment is for us to know that we're we're above the judgment right now if we've been adopted into Christ and are willing to suffer for his namesake here, where it's not really our home, because and I know that although this flesh may die, our spirit, never really dies. And even though, like a corn plant dies and the seed dries out and falls to the ground, what happens? What? But there's a second death. I'm afraid, I'm glad I don't have to worry about it anymore. Let's look at some of these pictures here. So the almonds, the amygdala, there's your basic. Doesn't it look like the Chicago Bears logo? That is on purpose. There's no denying it. The Chicago Bears logo, and the New England Patriots with it coming down to their swoosh. It's all the occipital horn of the lateral ventricles. Now, this horn is very deceptive. There's a horn. There's a horn. Moses had his horns wide and fat, juicy with information from the Lord. And it looks like this. You guys remember Wendy, right? Wendy Riggs, my anatomy. I'm remembering her now too. It was like I learned all these things, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's the horns of Moses. It's all, and we went over it. And then RJ, and we had all these Bibles questions, and we wanted to focus on that because we figured out the stones, and then the COVID, and then the gangrene. Oh my goodness, I was set back. I was set back. So this is important to me. I wanted to, these anterior commissure paleo cortical component. Oh, so this is like from the water boy. Eh, it makes you like your hippopotamus brain. That's your alligator brain. That's our precordial brain. They don't, but boy, it's a busy thing. The corpus callosum, the horns and the way it works in here. But they slow it down, and I got a little Bill Gates in me. I could get stubborn on something if I'm fascinated, and I was fascinated on these things. And you know I started looking for it in the stones and found them along, did the heart, I did a liver and a lung, kidneys, and then I jumped right up to a trilobite, because a trilobite is the midbrain, never leaving my fascination. And I realized, okay, there are, a lot of parts to the brain. But when you break it down, this is like a deck of cards. You can remember all the cards in a card deck when you're playing them so that you know what cards well, hopefully you know what cards to save until the end. You should. You shouldn't be surprised that when it's like everybody plays their last card. You should know what it is because they're going to be the same thing. And they always call these things, but like the octave chiasm, we always come back to that. And the third and fourth ventricle, the thalamus and the third ventricle, which comes off of the midbrain, which is the pons, which is that this section here leads up into where they carve trilobites out of this hardened outer shell. It's obscured by the blue, the superior colloidal vein, but it looks like this. It's that hard shell. And it also looks like that little bird drinking the water right here, right? It's all those symbolisms from but anyway, the ventricle, it's that little gap that goes right in here. It's probably like that. Well, that's what this is. And so I found it and I ran a pin through it and go like, oh, there it is, because I had taken and cracked the outer shell off. There's still, I let, there's, I didn't need to crack it all off. But I got this, I knew what I was going for here, and I had to get it opened in the back. So I took that off, ran that through there. It's all coming back to me. I'm glad, what this means is like, I think I'm good. I think I systematically, I did a systematic theology. And we're going to go back and work on the stones now. I used to know the names of these body parts. This perforated form, you see, because all of this filters the water of life that's symbolized what Jesus Christ will give to us eternally. It filters through this and it drips down into your spine. It's not that hard. It wasn't that hard. And I could do it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm all prepared. Here's the part I took off. That's the top, and it belongs right here. I know all the names. I can do, but my other trilobites I got now are small. I'll show you. Really tiny. But I can get some good ones. I just said I didn't want to commit to this until I, was officially enrolled and stuff like that. So I don't know if you'll be able to see these trilobites. I'm going to have to take the screen off. See, these are so small. I'm going to have to, but I do have 3 of them. And these aren't the ones that, are from Madagascar, that they dress them and they make them look like, you guys like this one? I do. Oh, let's do it this way. I'll get a picture of them, of showing them doing it. How do you spell Madagascar? CAR? Maybe preparation would be a better. How do you spell preparation? Okay, so they find them and oh, it was Morocco.
What that is,
You see those three how they start with that? Okay, that's pretty good. I'm gonna keep that picture in your mind there, okay? Of how what it's like when they start. Oh, I wasn't showing it. Good. Okay, so now look how these three meet together. All right, this is super important. So now you'll be able to see it. The trilobite preparation that I was looking up. So they're making them, but see, here's what they start with. Do you see that? And this? These are my trilobites that I'm going to be working with. Or I'll buy some bigger ones. But they get it, so they can make people believe that they can see with stone eyes. Like, wait, but their eyes are rock. Oh yeah, yeah. They had a different type of vision, but that's their eyeball. Oh, okay. Well, I guess when you carve it out of rock and get it the way you want it, you know. Well, let's see. Now, do you think, they just follow this up and take the other rock out? Now, what I was showing in these, the reason I had these, the bottom of the flat rock, I was showing that, look, they can scar it up, but they can't hide the bottom of it. So I pulled this out. Somehow I knew what it was, and it had wireless receptors in it that were like you could see them. So that's the back of it. And I knew this had to be, I think, the doggone amygdala, because this and this were different. And I traced them. This is the bottom of not, the back. It's a skull. And then the other side, you flip it over and you can carve a parrot, trilobite out of it. Well, I'll show you again on some other ones. So we're looking at the. Are we done looking at the pictures? So look at this. How this? See how it goes and it makes the horns. It also see. There's two of these, and this throws out your positive and negative aura. How you're a spinning Mobius strip. You know that endless animalimas, Taurus. You're battery operated, but this is where it starts. It's little positive, negative. And the bigger the horn you get, like Moses, the more of an aura of a presence you get. I'm I got quite a presence based on how it's like, okay, when I walk into a room, and if there's nothing going on, and if like everybody just standing around, well, very quickly after that, we're gonna be talking about. What do you think about if Jesus was right and the 1,000 years are over? And I've been talking about this forever, and I'll just tell them about it because that's my job. Why are these still staying up there? I had all kinds of. So there it is, the actual brain. There's the bird drinking the water. Oh, so it all started with this guy in the Thule and Maria Osick. Maybe we'll have his video pulled up. So that's it, because this is from last night. That's a video screen capture that I got from the RJ. What he's up to? Oh, he's at a party. And then tomorrow night, they're closing out their summer in style. Bill Gates. What's these Nazis up to?
Between the two world wars. And it became political as the Germans started to realize they were going to have to take their country back because there were communists everywhere. And we haven't even mentioned the November Revolution or any of the other things, the Kiel Mutiny, just numerous attacks on Germany by the communists between the two world wars.
You see how this is where most of your salt of your earth Bible scribe types. I mean, this is like looking in a mirror. I mean, when I was young, dude, you're going to have half that hair when you're 65, so you're not going to go totally bald, but but blaming the communist is, for our situation, and they're over there with their Bible scribes blaming capitalism and writing off the sins of their own nations. And was something involved with the Thule Society? Refresh my memory, Mr. Red and Black guy.
Into a presentation so you can digest it. And I guarantee that if you dig into the things that I'm going to talk about, you will find the same answers. But they just won't tell you that. You won't hear that from a college professor. You won't hear it from the news media. You will not hear it from almost any documentary. Precious few even touch the subject. Again, I just feel that this is so pivotal. So bear with me. I just hope and pray that you get a spark of light out of this information that helps you move forward, that helps you understand, that helps you make sense of what is going on in our world. Thank you. If you do any amount of research these days on the Nazis, specifically on the internet, in YouTube, in Google, if you search, you're going to find all sorts of information that the Nazis were these occult, ritualistic, obsessive madmen who were trying to create an ultra mega race of individuals that could take over the earth. Now, even saying that to myself, I sound.
Wait, hold on. They and every other nation at that time were convinced they were the Darwin's top choice. We shouldn't just make a video and just assume because we're white that everybody should have noticed that. Well, obviously, if we were going to have a contest, the Germans would be right, but we're not because, no, who almost won World War II? Japan. It took 5 countries to gang up against them. So knock it off, back it off. Hold there. What? The occult is real, dude.
Ridiculous. But that's the narrative that's given when you go searching online.
He's actually just a good teacher.
Even if you read books, generally, I'll show you this book. This is one of the most popular books that has come out in recent time about the Nazis and their occult involvement. It's by Peter Levenda, called Unholy Alliance. But this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
There's so many books. I even got this book. I bought this book from a used bookstore. I
How
just
about
saw it,
that?
and so I thought I'd read it. The Nazis and the Occult
Now,
by
I think this could be ironic, maybe not, but the Polish women's team snuck in there and won the gold medal after, the United States team dominated the pool play. I guess there's still a little volleyball coach in me. I still keep track of the world volleyball through the Olympics, and I couldn't believe an all-white team, especially when we got Thompson on our side, and she's just the best. Polish team won the Olympics. This is a Polish schmear. That's what's going on here. They weren't white enough or something.
D. Sklar. I read about halfway through this book, and then I realized something that was happening when I was reading through this book. And you guys know me, I read thoroughly, I read completely. I didn't skip through it. I was reading this book front to back, and
Wonder where that eagle, is facing to. It looks like it's facing right, but in reality, it would be facing to its left. The left-facing eagle is a rare thing, and it's so red.
what I found as I was going through is that it was making some amazing claims about the Nazis and their occult involvement, using mediums, spiritists to contact alien beings and essentially come up with devious, evil plans about how they're going to rule the world or experiment on people.
Everybody had those same evil plans. Everybody's were exposed. Everybody knows that every country did devious, evil things. Even Canada got in on doing evil, mean things to people, human experiments. The baby Albert experiment happened in Canada. That so where are you going with this? That like, oh my gosh, he's going to say maybe they didn't footnote it or something, but dude, they were totally into the occult.
All these terrible things. And as I got about halfway through the book, I realized that I was not seeing a single reference for the material that was being said about the Nazis. Not a single reference. So I had to start wondering, because at this point, I had been studying Nazis and occult stuff. I'd been seeing the videos online, watching different stuff, learning, reading. I had collected information from websites about the Nazis building flying saucers and contacting aliens and all this other stuff. And when I got halfway through this book and found that it had zero references for the material it was giving, I started wondering, is it possible? Could it be possible that this occult narrative in regards to the Nazis is actually a cover for something? I guess I feel like I've gotten good over the years at detecting when people are throwing smoke, when they're covering for something, when a story is being told, but it's almost too fantastic to be true, and it smells like and sounds like they're covering for something else. They're trying to lead you off the trail of something that they don't want you to know.
Yeah, like
so
maybe the world is run by the mafias and that they've added something like that. You think they're covering up that, and that the United States, we can brush aside the fact that, well, I guess there was this one fountain that blacks couldn't drink out of. No, we were one drop rule. If you looked white, but you had one drop of black, guess what? If you were going to be on TV, you played the maid. I don't mean they had the big screen back then. The TV was after the World War II, once they had convinced everybody we need 500 TV shows about cowboys to convince them there was a Wild West at one time, when it's like, keep going, dude.
in the case of this book, as I realized there was no references for the material it was giving me about the occult involvement of the Nazis, I started questioning the book. I looked into the book a little deeper. I found that the author, Sklar, is a Polish author. And if you know anything about the war, especially between the First and Second World War, there was a time when Poland was friendly with Germany.
But then they started listening to them commies.
And then towards the beginning of World War II, there was a switch in the leadership of Poland. A German sympathetic leader was switched out for a leader that was anti-German. And this Polish leader cut off all contact with Germany and was essentially a political socialist, communist. So with that being said, I realized
So with that being said, they mounted an invasion of Poland and said, "You dirty dogs, how dare you associate with those Caucasians, other white people in Russia." I
that
I'm missing
the
it.
Polish people had a lot of angst towards the Germans, just built in because of what happened during the
Just
war.
built in? Okay.
So it
Wow. Dude, I'm gonna skip ahead because I know you like to look at this girl's picture.
was the real story of Maria Orsic. I recently watched a video online. It was this video by the futureforecastinggroup.com. It's actually
Okay, so here's where we're going. Like salt of the earth, Bible scribe. He's gonna trust these guys because they do remote viewing of Maria Orsic. Okay. So who's tripping on where you gave? And it's like Bible scribe. Oh, I want some more proof? Well, I got these guys who do some remote
a
viewing.
group that practices remote viewing. It's not an occult group. This is actually a group. Some of them are
Oh, okay. Well, it sure sounds like they're a cult because they're doing remote viewing.
ex-military who actually did remote viewing for military purposes in their
Oh, that's not a
careers.
cultish because it's
But they,
government.
as a practice, as a kind of fun thing, they get together and they do remote viewing sessions on different people throughout history. And recently, the Future Forecasting Group did a remote
So,
viewing on
and like, there just seem to be so many people making excuses for the Nazis nowadays.
all infatuated with mediums and spiritists. And even though Lincoln didn't like having them in the home, she would bring spiritists into the home for different engagements where she would have friends over. So just to be aware, this is not like this is something that was
So basically, like when whether it's me or you or the many other people that talk to you about, these type of people because they were Freemasons and stuff, there's a difference between just doing it for entertainment and it's a fad than actually believing in it. And even Mary Lincoln did it because it was a fad. Bull crap. It was a Darwinist scheme from the dirty beginning.
their culture, where they came from. And then it became the Thule Society because of the word Thule. And they met to discuss specific things. They met to discuss the Edda, which was a medieval Icelandic collection of poetry, and Nordic mythology. So that makes sense. If you know what the word Thule means,
Voulez-vous Toulet?
the word Thule is a word that describes a part of Germany, the northern and eastern parts of
Oh, here
Germany,
we go.
and also the lands up into Iceland and
Yeah.
Norway. This area of the world was called Thule. It's the area of the world that experiences the midnight sun. You may know that the National Socialists, the Nazis, actually used the symbol of a midnight sun in some places.
Wow.
Well, it makes sense.
Dude, what?
Are you starting to get the picture here of what's going on? You have this group that is Germanic, and they are focused on their country and their heritage. And now you have a person coming in trying to change it. He is ousted from the group. He is kicked out of the country for being a communist sympathizer. And if you don't know, the communist Bavarian Soviet Republic was a republic that the communists set up in southern Germany during this time period in 1919.
He does. He just seems outraged about this. That because the German people. I mean, and my grandmother's name was Schroeder, so I get it. I get it. Kinda. I don't get it.
Since the 1800s, they now had a republic that was set up by other foreign powers and was infiltrated by numerous socialist and communist groups.
Oh.
So, do you see that Germany at this time was fighting for its life that the German people had come from? And in regards to the Thule Society, who was studying that exact thing, it makes sense that they would value the involvement of a person like Maria Orsich, a spiritist, a medium, a prophetess. They saw her as the same thing as this Veleda character from the ancient Germanic peoples. She was a spiritist who hearkened back to the ancient cultures of the
So it's not a cult. If her intentions are to, show them that how good they are and that they come from that pure stock, and the other countries and ancient cultures confirm it, back it up. America could be in on it with you, and you should rule the world. I get
German
it.
people. And because that was very important to them at this time, it
Super
seems to make
important.
sense that they would have involved people like Maria
And
in
who else?
societies like the Thule Society, and then further on in the politics of what became the most patriotic movement in German history,
What?
the National Socialist movement, a
Wow.
movement to take back their country
Like,
from the
wow.
communists
Like,
who were
wow.
infiltrating it, who
You
were
know,
causing revolution.
I know some people that if you even say one nice thing about a communist, or I mean, even maybe like labor or unions, I mean, it's a slippery slope.
This is a belt buckle from one of the soldiers in the Ostrogothic army. Do you see the symbol? So when we talk about the Thule Society and Germany trying to recapture its lost heritage, it looks like that symbol is from their lost heritage from the time of Christ and
That symbol is everywhere in the world. The swastika is from the inside of your body with well, let's take the air out with the bad air, in with the good air. Well, how do you get the good air? It gets purified through your God provided lungs. And that goes out one way, swastika goes out, comes back in the other way, swastika. And everybody knows it. It's your meander, it's life. And that they're trying to just appropriate it to Germany makes me, you know, I said he was a good teacher. I didn't say he was right.
beyond. It's not some ancient esoteric symbol of occultism. It's a natural symbol of their ancient peoples.
What? Celebrate it, right?
Not a celebration of occultism, but a celebration of their
Uh, See, no matter what we tell them, if God has not opened their eyes or changed their heart, we're the dumbasses. They're all the Bill Gates. I hope your eyes are open and that you're agreeing with me and not going like, where can I get my red t-shirt?
roots, of their heritage.
That's all we want. Heritage, roots, make America great again. We deserve
When
it.
in reality, these people are simply reclaiming their heritage. Whether it's Christian and you like it or not, they're reclaiming their own heritage in light of a world that was trying to tear their country apart.
Like those Native Americans that when we got to this country, they thought they were equal enough with us to make treaties. That sealed their doom. Doom, I tell you. Doom.
Now, just like all of our brain came from the secondary brain vesicles, those swellings in our neural tube from back when you were a little slime. Remember that?
Well, she's a good teacher, but it's from evolution. But still, I learned a lot.
Hole I kept drawing down the middle of that tube. Well, there are structures that arise from that hole, from that space in the center of the tube, including the central canal of the spinal cord. So this hole, this central, this hollow place in the neural tube, we're comfortable with it already as running down the middle of the spinal cord, but it also like did some crazy dances. Oh, what? And folded and twisted and got covered over in various ways and forms these ventricles in your brain that are
So isn't evolution just the craziest thing? And don't tell me, no, really, Bible said Moses had horns on his head. Because please, I would advise you to, that they knew what that meant, and you should hush your mouth.
filled with the cerebrospinal fluid.
Oh,
Not only are
the fluids turns to gemstones.
the third ventricle is kind of in this thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus.
Right. Hippocampus, all that area that is the main target of what do those conspiracy people say? Because I'm not a doctor or financial advisor or anybody else, but it's the 5Gs and the 6Gs. It's the what they got from World War II. It's like, hey, look, microwaves and radio waves, we can kick some ass because nobody understands frequencies. And I didn't understand frequencies because this is not that hard. After a while, when you break it down,
Out of that hole and into the surround, like it goes from there's a hole in here and it drains into
ampifugal lymphocytosis much? What? Ampifugal lymphocanosis much? Why would somebody say that? Because we've been like Marcella and Luther. I remember one time when Luther, when I think we were just talking on the phone, and I don't know if it was still kind of new. And he goes, man, I love it when you say ampifugal lymphocanosis. And I think I said, I love it that you know that word. So let me get it bigger. That's right here. Oh, let me stand up. Okay. So your ampifugal lymphocanosis is, where's my hand? It's that green screen. So well, look where the Paco is. See where it says Alan Paco? And then it says application, and then go of cold water. And then right above it, you see ampifugal lymphocanosis. You see where I've drawn that arrow. I didn't know that those nerves from your eyes that they work partially. It is. There is the color of the sound. And I thought Disney was stupid, but they were rubbing it in our face. So that's the part where, as you saw, that it gets cold and then it passing by that hot part of the brain. So what happens? Well, what happens when you put a glass of water on a table? Condensation forms on the outside, right? And then it drips down. And then it's the water of life. When it drips down in the body, your eyelashes don't have to wonder, should I blink? I see sand coming at you. Okay, Superman, you saw the sand coming at you? Get out of here, knucklehead. It's how, so that's how I think I should just, I'll read your comments in a minute. I'm on a roll. Wendy, what were you saying about the condensation? I'm going to back it up. 2 seconds.
there's a hole in here and it drains into the area surrounding the brain itself. Now, let's see.
Tell them about
Once
the mushroom.
It drains into this space here, I feel like I need to make this bigger.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're gonna just
takes a second.
This,
sometimes
cut it.
You gotta just.
We're gonna go up, find ourselves a blank page.
It happens to me all
Usually
the
I'm
time.
a little more organized than
Don't
this.
worry
Yes.
about it.
Oh dear. But we're just gonna make it bigger so you can see this.
It would be perfect.
I think it will be helpful.
Big time.
Okay, so look. This is our half view. Yeah. Okay, and we'll bring it down just so we can see it better. And let's just...
Doesn't that look like the ponds? Remember? Is it? Well, yeah, it is.
Label our meninges while we're here, because you have the meninges are, remember, the structures surrounding your brain and spinal cord. Meninges. We have the dura mater, which is the tight to the...
So not only are we getting the living water dropped on our spine from Jesus Christ, how are we going to activate our brains? You've got to be kidding me. Am I really spiritually becoming my little mushrooms on my head acting? Am I connecting? I don't know.
Skull, dura mater. And then we have the pia mater. Remember that guy? Here's pia mater tight to the brain.
They weren't in this
And then
class.
between them was the fantastical arachnoid mater. And that was kind of a spider webby stuff in between. Now, here's the scoop, my friends. Your cerebrospinal fluid actually drains into the subarachnoid space. So it drains into the space between the pia mater and the arachnoid mater. And that's what you're seeing right here. Cerebrospinal fluid is this stuff right here, this light blue stuff. But what's the dark blue stuff? You know what that is?
Just focus.
Holy bloody hell. It's blood. It's venous blood from your brain. Your brain has taken all the oxygen out of the blood and has dumped it into this sinus right here, this space. And you have little like mushroom shaped structures within that space right here. And these guys basically drain cerebrospinal fluid into the blood. So the cerebrospinal fluid, which started up here in my lateral ventricle and traveled all the way through, what will go to these little mushroom shaped structures and get dumped into the venous blood supply. Old blood is then carried out of the brain through the jugular vein and to the heart and then to the lungs to get reoxygenated and sent back around to the body again. Your cerebrospinal fluid, because it's being produced in your brain constantly, there's almost like a higher pressure of fluid in there. So it's constantly being dumped back into the blood supply, which enables you to constantly be cleaning and renewing that cerebrospinal fluid. If you look,
you know, we've gone over Bill Gates, and when he was 13, he enrolled at the Lakeside Prep. Hope I've been sharing. Okay. The Lakeside Prep, it cost as much to go there as Harvard. And he wrote his, first software program there. He's only 8 years old. I showed you the picture of him. We're supposed to believe in a bake sale, rummage sales to buy the computer. He stole the basic code from a brother's printer, IBM, I believe, and started selling it. I found out today that probability value, just like we've all been saying, it's so stupid that why did we have to even learn the p-value? It's stupid. Finally, in 2016, we didn't have to worry about it because they admitted that it was faked. But they didn't tell anybody. Nobody cares. So all of their probability distribution and algorithms are their null hypothesis that are based on the antimatter. That shit. They don't even try to fake it anymore. Everything that they do in math is a line. We care because, gosh, did you see the woman in red? She smiled at you, I think. The Ivy League nude posture photos from anybody that's in the news or on the news were approved by the people who went to the Ivy League schools, including the Seven Sisters. When they left their mommies and showed up far away from going back to the 1880s. This because this is much deeper than what they found from 1940 to 1970. All of the incoming freshmen, those the highest, even Swarthmore, get away from mommy and daddy. They said, take off your clothes. Take off your clothes. We're going to take a picture of you. And they all did. If they've got a degree or if they attended, like Bill Gates. The photos are simple black and white images, each standing upright, front, back, and side. Harvard did it, admittedly, but it goes back much further to 1880s when they picked these children. It was run by these people so that they could study body types. It's a disgraced thing, but they believed in it with all their heart. They still do. So they made the children line up. They said they wanted to study posture, but it was all a lie. The relationship between body size and shape in 1995, but it doesn't get reported on much. They were sealed, so now they're sealed up. They claim they destroyed some of them, but they don't talk about it much because it's shocking. Because he found was an enormous cache of nude photographs, thousands and thousands of young men and, well, it'd be women from the girls' school, but it's all students, side and rear poses. Disturbing because if you look a little closer, the photos looked like a record of a bizarre body piercing ritual. Sticking out from the spine of each and every body was a row of sharp metal pins. And the science they were studying has been discredited. Dick Cavett, when it got exposed, he talked, well, yeah, I just thought it was weird. And I didn't think they would save them, but I wanted to go to the Ivy League school so bad. One of the men was in charge of saying, like, yep, that's our policy at Harvard. He's another one of these Appleton, Wisconsin guys, like the famous machine gunner, Joe, McCarthyism, the John Birch Society's headquarters, I think, is in Appleton. No, back then, though, in 1911, in this pre-Hellenistic stage of the evolution of the literary art of Rome, this guy was writing all about it because, man, he was into this kind of stuff, and he was the genius, and he found out about the Viking boat burials, and he thought that it was like he got kind of into that German mythology about how cool that was, and he got into the philosophical societies, and yeah, he was one of those guys, just the total evolution. Used comparative anatomy to divide up human into races. And he actually wasn't as bad as some of the other evil eugenicists that were out there. He would go and say, oh, no, we just have to study their differences. But all races, blacks included, can have morons or geniuses. But, Germans got their thing and he went with it. And they had, well, okay. They made it like law, hoot and plan. It's a disgrace now, but it wasn't in 43. They're going to breed the war stain. Well, some of those other Germans might have had been a little bit aggressive, but they can breed it out of them. No problem. And they just didn't realize that. I don't even know if he realized that they were in on it, Gosh, what's this? What is this society? Oh, it was founded in 1743. Okay. Well, what did they want to do? Oh, they wanted to talk about how there's no God. These are your Rosicrucians. These led to the Theosophists. These led to your Blavatskys, to your Crowleys. I told you. They sell the Kabbalah and leave out Jesus Christ because it's like giving you the truth, but then not telling you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It's exactly like that. Of course, the founder would be Hell's Club, Hellfire Club, founder and pervert. Nothing should be said kind about him, just to prop up like a Bill Gates who, you know, they all these son of a guns, man. They were all in on it. All of them. They're all in on that philosophical club about not liking God and it led right to those son of a guns, those Crowleys, right through all of these other people. If you wanted to be somebody, but this is old news. I'm remembering it now. Now that I understand the theology and got the whole new systematic theology, I get it now. And you should too. Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 6. No, I'm not going to spare you that. Let's go to verse 4. Jeremiah chapter 19. Read along with me. Because the people have forsaken me and have profaned this place by making offerings in it to other gods whom neither they nor their fathers nor the kings of Judah have known, and because they have filled this place with the blood of innocents and have built the high places of Baal to burn their sons in the fire as burnt offerings to Baal, which I did not command or decree, nor did it come into my mind. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declares the Lord, when this place shall no more be called Topheth, or the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. And this place I will make void the plans of Judah and Jerusalem, and will cause their people to fall by the sword before their enemies and by the hands of those who seek their life. I will give their dead bodies for food to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the earth. I will make this city a horror, a thing to be hissed at. Everyone who passes by it will be horrified and will hiss because of all its wounds. And I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and their daughters, and everyone shall eat the flesh of his neighbor. In the siege and in the distress with which their enemies and those who seek their life afflict them, then you shall break the flask in the sight of the men who go with you, and shall say to them, thus says the Lord of hosts, so will I break this people and this city as one breaks a potter's vessel, so that it can never be mended. He's going to break it like a potter's vessel, so that it can never be mended. Men shall bury in Topheth, because there will be no place else to bury. Thus will I do with this place, declares the Lord, to its inhabitants, making this city like Topheth, the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the kings of Judah, all the houses on whose roofs offerings have been made. That's not a place not a sanctified offering, but yeah, Judah went bad, 40 years bad. To the host of heaven, and drink offerings have been poured out to other gods, shall be defiled like the place of Topheth. Then Jeremiah came from Topheth, where the Lord had sent him to prophesy. And he stood in the court of the Lord's house and said to all the people, thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I am bringing upon this city and upon all its towns all the disaster that I have pronounced against it, because they have stiffened their neck, refusing to hear my words. And so when Israel today says, well, I guess we sinned, but he knew we were a stiff-necked people, and they act like he wasn't going to do anything about it. And he act like he wasn't going to do anything about it. They don't read the Bible. That has to be it. They're going to be the valley of the slaughter. Wow. Now we're just going to close with Isaiah chapter 2. It shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established as the highest of the mountains. It shall be lifted above the hills. All the nations shall flow to it. And many people shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his path. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations. And haven't we been studying a lot about how he divided the nations and the other Elohims? Didn't do a very good job, did they? Oh, no. Oh, no, they did not. And they got, well, they're going to be judged like men. Ouch. You think when Jonathan and his father Saul, King Saul, were killed, how the mighty have fallen, he said, through the mouth of King David. Now imagine these people. Wow. He will judge between the nations, shall decide disputes for many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, leftovers, and their spears into pruning hooks, that nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. O house of Jacob, come, let us walk together in the light of the Lord, for you have rejected your people, the house of Jacob, because they are full of things from the east and fortune tellers like the Philistines. They strike hands with the children of foreigners. This land, their land, back then, it's destroyed now, gone forever. It was filled with silver and gold, and there is no end to their treasures. That's why they didn't want to have any king but Caesar at the end there, because the Gentiles had flown into their kingdom because of John the Baptist and the Medes and the Persians. I mean, everybody knew about reading the Bible. So where's this king we're supposed to worship? And the rich people said, oh, what? We're the rich people. We're the king. We gotta keep this gravy train rolling. You know what I mean? You get it. Over dramatic, little. I feel like I was a little. Verse 7. Their land is filled with silver and gold, and there is no end to their treasures. Their land is filled with horses, and there is no end to their chariots. The land is filled with idols. They bow down to the work of their hands, to what their own fingers have made. So man is humbled, and each one is brought low. Do not forgive them. Enter into the rock. Hide in the dust from before the terror of the Lord and from the splendor of his majesty. The haughty looks of man shall be brought low, and the lofty pride of men shall be humbled. And the Lord alone will be exalted on that day. And, the men will be humbled. Oh, my goodness. But he's saving it up for the women. Oh, my goodness. And when he describes them, you're going to think, how did he know how I dress on that day? Verse 12, for the Lord of hosts has a day against all that is proud and lofty, against all that is lifted up, and it shall be brought low. Cedars lifted up, Lebanon good, oaks of Bashan, uplifted hills. This is really good, right? Oh, okay. Let's go here. Uplifted hill against every high tower, against the fortified wall, against all the ships of Tarshish. Okay, that does sound a little Tartarian to me. And against all those beautiful craft. Okay, well, we know they could sure build some boat back then, right? And the haughtiness of man shall be humbled, and the loftiness of men shall be brought low, and the Lord alone, as today, will be exalted in that day. The idols shall utterly pass away. The people was like, what worked before could work again. But what they did back then was entered in the caves of the rocks and the holes of the ground from what? Well, before the terror of the Lord, but they were warned, big time warning. But their ears weren't opened. I get it. But their ears, the ones that were opened, from the splendor of his majesty when he rises to what happened? He terrified the whole earth, not a local destruction on 70 AD. In that day, mankind will cast away their idols of silver and their idols of gold, which they made for themselves to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to enter in to the caverns of the rocks and the clefts of the hills, from before the terror of the Lord, from the splendor of the majesty, when he rises to terrify. Okay, we got that. We know that happened in 70 AD. So the advice of verse 22, stop regarding man, in whose nostrils is wah. Remember, we went over that just the other night. I like it because it's like so fresh. For of what account is he? What is it, old man? You are mindful of us. For behold, the Lord God of hosts is taking away from Jerusalem and Judah. Oh, this is getting worse. Support and supply. I thought it was over. It's not. All support of bread, all support of water, the mighty man and the soldier, the judge and the oh wow. So it's more detailed in, you know, the yucky time, the bad time, the worst time ever in the whole world. I know we're going to have it bad in Gog Magog, but it wasn't like this. I mean, something. Mighty man, judge, prophet. So all these people, counselors, skillful magicians, well, what are you doing there anyway? You know? And I will make boys their princes. That's not going to help. Infants going to rule over them. That's going to make it worse. And the people will oppress one another. Yeah, because you got, oh, this is that judgment thing. Never mind. They deserved it. We all deserved it. We were saved by grace. We could have been right there with them. The youth will be insolent to the elder, what new, and the despised to the honorable. For a man will take hold of his brother in the house of his father, saying, you have a cloak, you shall be our leader in this heap of ruins. He's talking about Jerusalem. And they were eating each other. You're our leader. Oh, no. No, no, no. In that day he will speak out, I will not be a healer. In my house there is neither bread nor cloak. You shall not make me leader of this people. Jerusalem has stumbled, Judah has fallen, because their speech and their deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. Okay. All right, good. So they're going to dig in. For the look on their faces bears witness against him. They proclaim their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them, for they have brought evils on themselves. Tell the righteous that it shall be well with them, for they shall eat the fruit of their deeds. Oh my goodness, but these guys are eating their own children. So that is how bad it gets for the wicked. But let me take a drink here and you keep going. I kind of dried out. And it was so stinking hot, I left the lid on it. I see it's been a little over an hour right now, but we're gonna finish this out because you're not gonna believe this. Stay with me now. Verse 10, tell the righteous that it shall be well with them. They shall eat the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked, it shall be ill with them. For what his hands have dealt out shall be done to him. What did David say? It's always better. Smart David. Oh, he was given a choice for the census, What do you want? You're going to get punished. And I've been down that road, where God's going to oh, okay. Always choose God. Don't never fall into the hands of men. They are evil. Only God knows, understands mercy. Men, well, I'm trying to keep up with us. I'm going to go to verse 13. The Lord has taken his place to contend. He stands to judge peoples. The Lord will enter into judgment with the elders and princes of his people. It is you who have devoured the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your house. What do you mean by crushing my people? By grinding the face of the poor? Build a cell phone for $1 a day. Declares the Lord of hosts. The Lord said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty. When they're not twerking, they're haughty and walk with outstretched necks, glancing wantingly with their eyes. immencing along as they go, tinkling with their feet. That I like that. I like when the women put the bells on their toes, or even a toe ring. I do. I like that. Therefore, the Lord will strike with a scab the heads of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will lay bare their secret parts. Yow. Wow. So, how did they dress? Like you? Like the people of the Renaissance era? Or the people that lived in a mud grass hut that said, I got a cow and I figured out how to make cheese. Did they dress like this? In that day, the Lord will take away their finery of their anklets. I like those too. Matter of fact, I like all this stuff. The headbands and the crescents, the pendants, the bracelets and the scarves, the headdresses, the armlets, the sashes, the perfume boxes, the amulets, the signet rings, the nose rings, the festal orbs, the mantles, the cloaks, and the handbags, the mirrors, the linen garments, the turbans, and the veil. You know me, man. Who doesn't like a turban more than me? Ooh, I'm not trying to be flippant at all, Father. Verse 24. Instead, instead of perfume, there will be rottenness, and instead of a belt, a rope, and instead of well set hair, baldness, and instead of a rich robe, a skirt of sackcloth. Because there's no, see, they're talking about baldness, and some guys probably went, "Hey, dude, they're talking about the women now." This is a totally different thing than you being bald because you got too much testosterone. You want to back down and sit off? Never mind, something like that. Branding instead of beauty. Your men shall fall by the sword, your mighty men in battle, and her gates shall lament and moan until she went onto the ground. Okay, let's time this by 10. What's going on in Isaiah 30? Oh no. They were warned, don't go down to Egypt, remember? But then Jeremiah, they kidnapped Jeremiah and took him to Egypt. You stubborn children, declares the Lord, who carry out that plan but not mine. They always wanted to go back to Egypt, didn't they? Right from that time at the Red Sea. Tell you, we want to go back. Too late. They're bad now. You stubborn people, you made a plan, not mine. You made an alliance, but not with the Spirit. Let's face it. We talk about the Most High God and his reputation. How do you build on a reputation where he is everywhere, all the time, knowing everything, past, present, and future, because it's his and he did it. He wrote it in from the beginning. That's what did he say? "No, I can't build a temple for you. The heavens can't even his spirit. You can't go that far. That's how big he is, and that's how smart he is. But they didn't like his plan. They wanted to make an alliance, but not with that. Not with the Most High God, the Most High Spirit, Elyon. This means Most High. That's not his real name. What's going on here anyway? Oh, so they ran back. They wanted to go back to Egypt. And they did. They took them back to Egypt. Isn't that crazy? So they write it on a tablet, witness forever, that they're lying bad people. And only very few of them are like in the seed. Remember the seed of Israel that we studied? That there's only Gentiles and Jews are one seed, and the seed is Christ. Probably don't even believe you. Is this not enough that oh well, he just threatened, don't go back, but then maybe they didn't go back and get all this judgment. Well, then let's just throw away the Bible, because Isaiah warned him, Jeremiah warned him, and then they just said, you know what? The hell with it, man. You know what would be nice? Kidnap Jeremiah and take him to Egypt. That would be awesome. Let's do that. Because we're not in enough trouble with El Elyon. with our stiff neckedness. You're telling a lie. The Lord God did not send you to say, do not go to Egypt to live there. From the very beginning, he didn't want you to go back to Egypt. But I'm sorry. I kind of think this kind of makes it think that the men were listening to their women. And the men were going like, well, let's see. You're not a real man unless you people think you score with your woman twice a day and 3 times on the weekend. And you don't want to let them know it's not really happening that much. But if you divorce or anything like that, then they're going like, aha, so you're not a real man. So the men are letting these women get away with a lot of stuff here. They like to pour out drink offerings to the Queen of Heaven. That's going to become obvious. Okay. So that's why they're going like, oh, you didn't tell us this and that. We thought it's super cool to go back to Egypt. We don't even know what you were talking about. All right. Behold, he says to them, thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will send and take Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. Wow, and he's not even Jewish. And this, I wonder how often they use that word. He's going to send Nebuchadnezzar, my what? Nebuchadnezzar. I'm going to send him. Okay. My servant. Slave. Wow. So does God have any restraints? What's his servant doing? Set him above the throne, above the stones that I've hidden. He shall come and strike the land of Egypt, giving over to the pestilence. Ooh, because these are the people that thought it'd be smart to go back there. To those who are doomed to the pestilence, to captivity, those who are doomed to captivity, and to the sword, those who are doomed to the sword. I shall kindle a fire in the temple of the gods of Egypt, and he shall burn them and carry them away. So Nebuchadnezzar also, he didn't just attack the Jerusalem, the Jews that left and went back to Egypt. He went and cleared out Egypt too. Don't run to these guys for help. You should have surrendered and went with back to Babylon and just said, "You're right. We repent," and they would have lived. You know, so that look at all these broken obelisks all over the world. Well, no kidding. I wonder who did it. Well, it's in the Bible. There's certain times when this would float, and then when it did, the temples of the gods of Egypt he burned with fire. Okay, people don't want to go like, "Hey, it's so biblical." Those guys on the chariots of the gods aren't going to tell you about that. The word came back to Jeremiah concerning the Judeans who had moved back to Egypt and all of these, you know, other places. Probably the United States is what they're talking about. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, you have seen all the disaster I brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah. Behold, this day they are a desolation, and you ran away because of the evil they committed. That's why they were provoking him to anger, in that they would make offerings, serve other gods that they knew not, neither they nor their fathers. They weren't the ones. He sent servants, but they killed them. The prophet saying, "Oh, do not do this abomination. Our God hates it." But it wasn't just the women, the men. You're ultimately responsible. They did not listen or incline their ear to turn away from their evil and make no offerings to other gods. Therefore, my wrath and my anger are poured out and kindled in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, and they became a waste and a desolation. That's that first destruction there. That was that big deal. And it still is a big deal. I'm going to just skip through some of these other harder parts and get down to verse 8 too. Why do you provoke me to anger with the works of your hands, making offerings to other gods in the land of Egypt? Look, they went back to Egypt. I don't know how many. I know the people in my chat room know that. Therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, Lord of hosts, I will set my face against you. You guys are in big trouble. You know, you're remnant in Judah. You're just going to get crushed. Sword, famine, pestilence. You've been so bad. And I'm trying to warn you, for they shall not return. Everybody, oh, you're all going down except some very few fugitives. He just described bad. And so here we go. Verse 15. Then all the men who knew that their wives were into Ashtar and probably vibrators had made offerings to other gods, and all the women who stood by a great assembly, all the people who lived it. So all these people said, you know what, Jeremiah? That's a lie. You have spoken to us in the name of the Lord. We're not going to listen to you. But take a lesson, Jeremiah, verse 17. But we will do everything that we have vowed. See, they've chosen another God and they're afraid of her. And now we've vowed to make offerings to the Queen of Heaven, and our husbands aren't going to stop us. Do you think you are? You got to make offerings to the Queen of Heaven, pour out drink offerings to her, as we did, both we and our fathers and our kings and our officials in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, because she blessed us. They believed that they blessed them. That's honestly their mindset. We are not going to be able to convince them that it was another God that gave them the plenty of food, the prosperity, and that no disaster. They gave all the credits to the Queen of Heaven. And when Jeremiah told them to stop, well, then they ended up selling everything and having to move to Egypt or admit that they were a bunch of sinning male whores and female prostitutes. But anyway, they close out that verse by saying, was it without our husband's approval that we got our nipples pierced? All right, this is the real world. And the Bible has been figured out. The timeline has been figured out. There is a systematic theology that explains all this. And I'm back on the rocks because their stones have been crying out. I was making videos on the man who knows how to walk to gold and proved it 5 out of 5 times. And Doug and some others didn't want to do it. They didn't want to make it about gold at that time. Okay, fine. I'm the Paco, but I also, from the Bible reader, knows that many counselors is a good idea because apparently I can get triggered and I need good friends around sometimes because when I can get pretty mad, but not anymore. How long has it been? Oh, who cares? Really, what everybody's dying to hear right now is me to remind you that it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon, because that means we're getting out of here. Thank you for your time, an hour and a half. But you're never going to get this anywhere else. I rarely ask you to share and subscribe, but since, when I do psilocybin mushrooms and I act like this, I don't believe that other people should say, I don't like psilocybin people. Where I think it would help the veterans. That's how this started before I even knew, before the second vision and the stones cried out. I thought this was real. And if you don't, if you're just going like, nope, there can never be anything positive from psychotropic mushrooms. Okay, then everything you know about mud flood Armageddon and the added 1,000 years, and hey, look at it, let's look at it this way. That came through my ministry, and everybody else branched off with the Anunnaki and everything else like that. There was a site with, you know, my videos, 5,000 videos called Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past. It got taken down in the COVID thing, and I don't remember. I think it was Tommy backstabbing me because it's one thing to walk it, but would you stop walking it, quit talking it? Flat Earth Nation. Anyway, me and my friends will never tell you anything, but it's a flat Earth Nation with the Golden Age pets because Mud Flood was Armageddon because we were one, called, two, chosen, three, very happily trying to prove to you that we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame.